It was a cold evening on December 3, 1948, just off the coast of Shanghai, China. The sea was calm, the sky dim, and the passenger ship SS Kiangya moved quietly through the waters of the Huangpu River, heading toward the island of Zhoushan. On board were thousands of people, refugees fleeing the final days of the Chinese Civil War. They carried only what they could: bags, children, a few memories, all searching for safety and a new beginning. For many, the Kiangya was not just a ship, it was hope. But within hours, that hope would turn into horror. The SS Kiangya was built in 1939 and operated by the Shanghai Merchant Steam Navigation Company. It was designed to carry around 200 passengers, but that night it held far more, possibly over 5,000. The decks were overflowing. People stood shoulder to shoulder, crowding every inch of space. Yet no one complained, as long as it meant escaping the chaos of war on land. As night fell, the ship sailed down the Huangpu River and out toward the mouth of the Yangtze. The passengers settled in. Some whispered prayers, others dozed off, clutching their children. The sea was calm, too calm. Then, at 9:30 p.m., without warning, a deafening explosion ripped through the ship. Witnesses later described it as if the ocean itself had burst open. The Kiangya shook violently. A massive blast tore through its hull, throwing passengers and debris into the air. In a matter of seconds, flames and smoke engulfed the decks. Panic spread instantly. People screamed, trampled, and fought to reach the lifeboats, but there were too few, and most were destroyed by the explosion. The ship began to tilt sharply to one side as water rushed in. In less than 5 minutes, the SS Kiangya was gone, swallowed by the dark waters of the Yangtze estuary. Rescue ships from nearby ports rushed to the scene, but by the time they arrived it was too late. The sea was covered with wreckage and bodies, and only around 700 people were pulled from the water alive. The rest, more than 3,700 souls, and possibly as many as 4,000 or 5,000, vanished beneath the waves. The explosion was so massive that rescuers at first thought the ship had struck a mine left over from World War II. Later investigations confirmed it. The SS Kiangya had hit a leftover nationalist mine near the mouth of the river, one of many forgotten remnants of earlier conflicts. In other words, the ship's destruction was not caused by weather or by war, but by a ghost of war, something left behind and forgotten. The tragedy of the SS Kiangya quickly became one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history, even worse than the Titanic, even worse than the Lusitania. Yet outside of China, few people ever heard of it. Part of the reason was timing. The country was in chaos. The Chinese Civil War was nearing its end, and the communist forces were advancing rapidly. News of the disaster was buried under political turmoil. No official passenger list existed. Thousands were undocumented refugees. For many families, their loved ones simply disappeared. Names lost, bodies never recovered, memories fading into silence. Survivors told haunting stories. Some said the explosion lifted the ship out of the water before it broke apart. Others described swimming through burning oil, hearing children crying in the dark before the waves silenced them. Many clung to floating wreckage for hours, shivering through the night surrounded by the ghosts of the fallen. In the years that followed, the site of the disaster became a silent graveyard beneath the sea. Divers who explored the wreck decades later said it was still eerily intact, as if frozen in time, carrying thousands who never reached shore. But for most of the world, the SS Kiangya remains a forgotten tragedy, a line in a history book, overshadowed by larger wars and bigger headlines. Yet for the families who still light candles every December, it's more than a statistic. It's a reminder of how fragile life is, and how easily history forgets the suffering of ordinary people. The SS Kiangya was meant to carry hope, to take people away from war and toward safety. Instead, it carried them to the depths of the sea. No grand memorial stands in their name. No movie was ever made. Just the whisper of waves near Shanghai, and the quiet memory of a ship that vanished in a single fiery breath. The SS Kiangya, the forgotten ship of sorrow. A name the world should remember.